Hi, good evening. Welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. We had a busy day today, getting back to the way that it used to be. Started a little bit later than usual. Actually, funny, we usually would awake around 5 or even a little bit earlier, because that's when the internet is not terribly overloaded then. So we often wake up then and get a little bit of work done. But anyway, we did a little bit of work at the house, and then we arranged to meet our friend Michael from Expat living in the Philippines. He's the one that has the beautiful place out at Zamora, and we met him down at Vidasto, which is our usual place. We had some stuff to do at the bank. And so we met Michael and had a kind of, brunch, I suppose you'd call it if you were in America. And while we were there, we had a surprise visit from, Robert and Sonia, who came from Mindanao, I have to read this, Bukidnon. So we had a very pleasant visit with them, and then we arranged to take them over to see, because we were going for a work in progress on Dennis's house, that they would like to see that, and they did. So they followed us over there to the canyon, to the quarry, not the canyon. They followed us over there, and they came and had a look, and it's very sobering. When we went over there today, I actually looked at the old house again. You forget very quickly how basic these houses are, and what a huge difference even a modest house like the one we built makes a huge difference, because it's fresh and clean, and everything is new, and the design that we have for a 2-bedroom, it turned out that it's going to be two bedroom. They're tiny bedrooms, because that's how they work here. Enough for the bed, and that's pretty well it. And a small living room, come dining room, kitchen, and the kitchen is a dirty kitchen, open fire, which is at the end of the house. But if you look at the videos, you'll soon see for yourself just how that is. But anyway, that was a pleasant time. It was enjoyable to meet Robert and Sonia. So it was that was a pleasure. As I say, they came from Mindanao. They actually rented a truck over there, and they brought it was a real family thing. They brought a full truck full of people. So that was very pleasant. And then we came and we brought Nanay home, Nanay and Lena, and we brought them home because we picked them up after they'd had a little visit. When we went into Talabon, we took them as well. Usually Nanay will try to coincide her trips into Talabon with ours. I can't imagine why. I guess she might possibly like to ride in the truck instead of a tricycle. So anyway, that was all done. And then, even though I thought it was late, because I didn't want to get home in the dark again, it's what usually happens. The day ends up being so full. Well, we went to see the lady that we did the emergency run when we were at Rizal Elementary. When we were giving the kids at Rizal Elementary a party, we got an emergency plea for help. We only had the little red truck there, but we answered the call, and Michael and I, as I say, from Zamora, we went round to the health centre, where there was an extremely pregnant lady who was trying her best not to deliver a child. That's how close she was. Well, she had a very uncomfortable ride. She wouldn't ride in the front. She needed someone there to help her and support, and she had a relative with her, so in the back, and she was able to lay down after a fashion on the little folding seats that we have in the multicab. Well, it wasn't exactly a comfortable ride, but we got her to the maternity wing of the Garcia Memorial Hospital in Taliban, and I think it was not before time, and she delivered a little boy. So that was before Christmas, and we thought, why not go and see her? Little did we know that the Rizal, which was high in the mountains and a tough enough drive, would prove to be even something of a real adrenaline rush. And how did we do it? We went with Rado on his what I call his commercial tricycle. In other words, it's not made for people. It's not primarily made for people to ride in. It's just like an oblong, rectangular cage made up of rebar, and for people to ride in it, he just puts a piece of wood across the middle of it, and there's two little pits of angle iron that form like a shelf, and the wood goes over and onto that, and he ties it on, and you take your life in your hands, and you go up a really rough road past the Village of Hope, and continue on until you really are on top of the world. I mean, you know, all of those mountains that we look at from where we live, they're far away, but boy, if you look at that video that we made, there were a few times when we didn't think that we were going to make it. Well, anyway, we stopped, and Beth, as is her way, managed to get, that's her, bless you honey, managed to get a passing motorcyclist to take us up to the house of the mother. Boy, that was a real scary ride. Now, we put it down. We couldn't miss putting that on video, so you'll be able to see that. Now, the incredible thing is that when we picked up the mother, she was just a stone's throw, like a few hundred yards from the Rizal Elementary. But she lived at least about 2 miles, possibly more. She may well have lived a lot more than 2 miles, but the thing is, it's up like this and then down like that. And a lot of the time, even when we were with Manorado, we had to get out because the tricycles simply couldn't get up there with us two in it. So we'd get out and walk, and then when we couldn't go any further, we just kept on walking. Now finally we were able to find, as I said, a tricycle driver. This is the amazing thing about being in the Philippines, is that people have time to help you. Now, we didn't expect him to do it for nothing. We did pay him, and we paid him quite well. But he took the two of us up to the house, which was at least 2 miles of really challenging road across 2 creeks. We went across 2 creeks and very narrow pathway with no room for error. Quite steep fall-offs on one side. So Beth would say, stop, and we get out and walk. And then when we were on to something approaching level ground, we'd get back on the tricycle. And it was a very exciting ride. But as I said, the the woman, as pregnant as she was and literally trying more to not have the child than to have it, had to do that same trip on the back of a motorcycle when she was trying not to have the child. So boy, our offer of a truck ride in the back of the little red truck was a luxury in comfort compared to what she'd had to do on the back of a motorcycle. And I believe that was a 2-passenger up as well. So 3 people on there, and one of them in very painful labour. It was quite a trip, and it must have been one heck of a trip for her in her pregnant condition. And we actually thought, in fact, when we got into the truck and started, Michael actually told me, do you know how to deliver a child? And it just so happens that I've seen my own children born, and I think I could, well, I'd have to do it if it really came to it, and I would. So yeah, we embarked on that trip with her in the back, trying to make it as comfortable as we could. And we got her there, as I say, not a moment too soon, and went round the back of the hospital, which is where the maternity wing is, and my understanding is that they virtually wheeled her straight into the labour room, or is it the delivery room? I think it probably was. So on the way back, we did everything in reverse from her house. She was looking well. We did a video on it. They're very proud of their little boy, and they've named him Prince Clarence. Yeah, and so that was that. We couldn't stay long because darkness was threatening to fall, and from our previous videos you'll know that it falls fast. As soon as that sun goes down behind the hills, it's not long and you're in darkness. So we did the last part of the trip down from Rizal. We did that part of that in darkness, and then of course the whole trip back to the 20 steps and back home was in darkness. But we were fine. Don't like it, don't enjoy it, but it's one of those things. Usually ends up doing that. So got back and was relaxing when I heard my dear wife screaming at the top of her voice, "Snake, snake, can you Terence, come out, there's a snake." And I must have literally walked across over this snake, because it was right by the door, by a gate that we've had to keep the dogs out of our little porch. And Beth followed me in a little bit later, 5 or 6 minutes after that, and under the big wooden gate there was a snake, and she was about to step on it when she realized, when she saw it move, and then of course the screaming started. My point was that any self-respecting snake, even if it was a banacon or I don't know, a 30-foot python, would be scared to death if it heard Beth screaming. So it wasn't there by the time I got out there. So yeah, I'm sitting on the toilet when I hear her start to scream, and of course I think, oh no, this is another prank, and I'm calling, Beth, I'm on the toilet. And she keeps screaming, "Snake, snake!" and her mother's out there, and her mother's screaming as well. And so I get dressed, and I'm stomping out, and I'm already in a temper. If if this is another prank, I'm gonna... And of course it wasn't, but we never found that snake. I had to stop by and get this. I have a very powerful flashlight, which is this thing here, pretty powerful, so I stopped and got that, and it works very well. So that was the exciting end to our evening, to our day. It's actually around 10:30 right now. Our clock on the wall doesn't really, it's not digital. So we're at the end of the day. Thank you very much for looking in, and we'll look forward to being with you again. And bye for now, the foreigner in the Philippines.